Welcome back everyone. So in this video what we are going to do is first we are going to create a get weather function. That function will have the entire UI script that we have already wrote. The reason why I'm creating because I'm going to create here a button which will have an attribute on click events. So whenever we are going to click on our button is going to trigger that function. Okay, let's first create our button. So button tag. It's going to be type equal to button, and we're gonna have on click. Okay, and here we're gonna have the function. Okay, get weather. Perfect. So we're gonna put some text here and close the tag. Perfect. So we do have our button now. Let's save it and let's go to our UI script where we're gonna create our get weather function. So get weather, so for get weather equal to function open close brackets and then open close curly brackets. I'm gonna close the function, and here everything which we have here we're gonna put inside our get weather function. Okay, let's close it. So whenever I'm going to click on the button, it should alert me the summary. So what kind of day that I have right now in Chennai. So let's see the result. Okay, I do have a button here, so it's still loading. I'm gonna click on it and see if it's going to give me something. So I have humid and foggy, so I do have the summary of the day that we have today in Chennai. So let's now focus on how we're gonna use AngularJS in order to take the data that we have here. So we do have variable place, temperature, summary, time zone. We do have values in that variables that we get from the callback function, server AJAX response. So how we can use these variables and how we can push it in our UI page, how we can bring it to the front end here, how we can like make it visible in our page, like when we gonna launch the page. Okay, so for that we're gonna use a framework called AngularJS. I'm gonna just write the code, and then every time I'm gonna explain you why we are writing this code. So the first thing is going to be angular.module. We are creating a module, and this is the module name. So weather app. The syntax, this you just need to write this following syntax, nothing else, and you're gonna close it. So I created a module in Angular. It's called weather app. I'm gonna just save this one, and in my UI page, so I'm gonna relaunch my UI page. In my UI page, I have to create, in this case, a div tag. So I'm gonna create a div tag which will have a directive called ng app equal to weather app. It should be exactly the same name that is given, so it should be inside quotes, double quotes. Okay, so I'm going to delete this part. So what we are doing right here is we are telling AngularJS, okay, in which part of the HTML you should see as a starting point of the application. So we have our script. This is our first line of the code. We have a module created and it's called weather app, and by having this information it's going to the UI page. It's looking in the HTML tags where we have ng app weather app, and it will only everything that we're gonna have inside our Angular code here, it will only apply in this block. So we can have as many block of div here, but only the one which has this one will take in consideration. So only this block will work. Okay, only for this block we have as a starting point of application. So that's the point, that's the thing here. It's more like a reference. That's how I understand. The second thing, we do have to work with the variables, right? We're gonna have to take the value that we have here for place and then push it there in our UI page. The same thing for temperature, summary, time zone. Sometimes vice versa. Sometimes if you have an input field in our app, we want to have it here. For example, I don't want to have Chennai here all the time. So it should have some sort of code here which can take the input value that we are going to have in our form. So in here, what I'm going to do right next line is to create what we call a controller. The controller is a JavaScript function which will allow us to manipulate data in between UI page and UI script. So let's create that. Angular dot module, and close. Exactly the same thing, weather app. I'm gonna put a dot. I'm creating now the controller. The controller will basically have a function, but I'm gonna give a name for my function, which is going to be weather app controller. This is our controller, and then I'm gonna write function, and my function will have inside as a parameter scope. Okay, open close curly brackets, and I'm gonna close it here. So I'm gonna take this part and I'm gonna englobe the entire code that I have. I'm gonna just put it right here. Okay, so we do have now the JavaScript controller function, which contains all the function, everything that we should do for that specific block. So this function going to allow us to manipulate data, but $scope variable, Java AngularJS variable, will allow us to access few data that we have here, and so we can use it. So let me demonstrate you one example. Here I have onClick function, onClick event, JavaScript event. I can delete that and put ng in the same way we have ng app, and then I can put ng click. Okay, and then we don't need double quotes, only single quotes. It's enough right now. And now I can access this function in a way here. I can delete var and put $scope dot get weather. So in this way, we do have a particular syntax here. This is a directive. Whenever you're gonna click, you should trigger this function, and AngularJS it understand like this, and then it goes to UI script. Where is the function? I do have it here. We are accessing in this way. So it will trigger everything that we have here. We have to do one more thing, which is whenever we create our controller, we have to say the same way we have done for the module. We have to say we have a controller. So it's going to be ng controller equal to quotation weather app controller, the name that we have here. It should be exactly the same. So now let's move on for the second part, which is now what I can do. The way we have used getWeather function, I could actually change in the same way in here. Okay, so I can replace it by the fact I can, for example, create an input field. Okay, so it's going to be type equal to text and close input field. Okay, so in here I'm going to create another directive which is going to be ng model, which will be equal to location. So I'm going to put that one here. So everything that goes inside, so we have a variable called location, and that variable will contain whatever the information that we have in our input field. So let me save this one. So I can show you now we should have in our page an input field. So you can see we do have input field, we have our search button. So whatever values that we are going to enter here, it will exactly be stored in this variable called location. So as we have now this variable, we can actually use the same way we have get weather here. Okay, so all we need to do is just replace here Chennai by dollar scope dot location. So it's fair enough. Now whatever the value that we're going to enter in our input field in here, it should be replaced by here and trigger, give the information, for example the summary for that city. So if I enter, so I'm going to close this page and then relaunch. And see what's gonna happen if I type London. Okay, click on search. I have most cloudy there. It's not very significant because now what I could do, I'm gonna put place here, so I'm gonna make you sure that it's going to be proper. So now let's reload the page and look for any city. We should have the city with the country. So I'm gonna put, for example, a local small city in Czech Republic, and then see what kind of results. So I have Brno and then the country. So it's working perfectly. So whatever the value that we are entering as input is stored in this variable, that we can actually use it in here in our UI script. This is a way to work in AngularJS in order to work with the data. So how we can send back in our, from the view here, from the view of the page that we have in our page right here, and in how to say in the backend. So now what we are going to do is I'm going to show you one more thing also, which is called expression. So I'm going to create an expression here, and I'm going to call this is going to be location, because we do have location. So which means whatever the value that I'm going to type in my input field should be immediately visible in the same page. So that's what we are doing right here. Okay, so let's save it and open our page in a private window. So the expression is basically going to show us immediately whatever the value that we have in location. So if I type some text here, you can see right away we have the text. So if I put Brno, I have Brno. If I put Prague, I have Prague. If I put Paris, I have Paris. If I put Chennai, I have Chennai. So as you can see, so this will be useful because we can use in our UI script to bring place, temperature, summary, time zone in our page, right? We just need to replace this place, and then we can actually use that in here. We can put dollar scope, okay, place, and we can replace here replace. That's another way to work in fact with expression. So you have to imagine here ng model is actually, we are using the same dollar scope variable in order to access this function, in order to use this variable location. But here we are using a different type, which is called expression, and we're going to use the same type here, which as we use for dollar scope get weather, dollar scope location, we are using dollar scope place here. So you have to notice there is kind of different here. Okay? We are having directives here, we are having expression here. Okay, so I'm gonna just repeat, create more expression. Okay, so one for summary, one for temperature, and the last one is going to be time zone. Okay, I'm gonna save it. So all I need to do in my UI script is just put dollar scope in front of each individual variable. Okay, just copy this one, put it here, and put it here. And now I don't need any more alert. I'm going to save it. So now whatever the value I'm going to enter, it should like give me the response, and it should display in the same page. Okay, so I'm going to close this one and then just open up a new window. Let's see if it's going to give us the result or not. Okay, so I'm going to enter Chennai, search for it, have nothing. Okay, okay, I do have now, because probably it took some time. Now I'm gonna put London. I have nothing. I will tell you why. Now I have some result. Okay, so now I'm putting the city. I'm calling the function. Right now I have the result, but it's not visible. But if I click here and then just erase it, I'm gonna get the result. This is because we do have some kind of issues with a problem with asynchronous call from here get XML and AngularJS. So I have spent some good amount of time now to find out why this is happening, because we can actually see we do have the result, but it's not appearing. So it's not fault of the code that we have wrote. It's not fault of we are not getting the result. We actually getting the result. I can type another city and I can search for it, but it's not appearing. But only if either I click again or if I change it. Okay, so in this case I can see the result. So it's not I need to call once more the function by clicking on search, we have the result. It's just because there is a problem in between AngularJS and the asynchronous call of the to get the result, the get XML. So now to solve this problem, so I found in the internet, basically we need to use we need to let's say there is one thing which is making in AngularJS to make the result available in the page. So we should force that function. So I'm going to create for that $scope dot $apply. Okay, so we should use the syntax. That's the information that I got if we want to make it available immediately, because that's how it can work. So I'm going to just save it and test now what's going to happen. So here I'm going to type Paris. Okay, so it's not happening. So now I have, probably I should open one more time the page. Put Paris here. Let's see if it's going to give immediately the result. As you can see here, we do have the result. I did not click somewhere else. I can put London. I do have the result directly. Okay, so this is something, it took me time to find out, and basically there is some article saying, hey, this is that you should use. I haven't explored yet. how this thing exactly works. But what we should do is to use in that function. If you write this function, ajax function, which is ajax response callback function, which is getting us the result, we are working on that. You should include this part of the code now to push AngularJS. Hey, we have the result, just show it on the page. Okay, that's all you need to understand. So now we have done pretty much 95% of the creation of the application. So the next thing is just to work on the design of the page in order to get a decent look. So thanks for watching, and bye.